Prime Minister.
Rishi Sunak was unambiguous.
Enough is enough. As currently constructed, the global asylum framework has become obsolete.
The Prime Minister wants to show stopping boat crossings and all other forms of illegal immigration is a priority for his premiership. So today, he, not the Home Secretary, announced a 5-point plan to tackle the issue and reduce the backlog of applications. It includes to double the number of caseworkers processing asylum applications to reduce the backlog. A new deal with Albania to speed up the return of Albanian asylum seekers. A new small boats command centre. Doubling National Crime Agency funding. And to move up to 10,000 asylum seekers out of hotel accommodation. Today, the UNHCR responded to the plan, saying in limiting access to asylum to those arriving through safe legal routes, today's proposals go against the basic principles of international solidarity and responsibility sharing, upon which the 1951 Refugee Convention was founded. A prominent Tory MP who welcomes the announcement says there needs to be more detail on safe routes.
We need to identify clear, safe and legal routes, such as a Dubs 2 scheme, which very successfully brought before about 480 unaccompanied children in danger to the UK and settled them, and also a family reunion scheme, which we have but only applies to very few people at the moment. Those routes barely exist. There are some schemes where you can get here, but we're talking about scores of people rather than hundreds and potentially thousands.
And here we inform the French.
The Prime Minister says he expects to clear the majority of the backlog of initial asylum decisions by the end of next year. Increasing the number of caseworkers, he says, will help do that. But one Home Office official told us it's not that easy.
The problem with dealing with the asylum backlog is that unless you make more decisions than claims, the backlog will only increase. There is also the time taken to recruit new staff, currently 6 months, and then train them. It doesn't mean increasing the number of people will sort the problem. It's like a factory. It's soul-destroying, and people will keep leaving because they don't like the job.
The Home Secretary has already said there will be 500 more caseworkers by the spring, but acknowledged a 46% attrition rate meant staff would increase by just 300 to 1,300. Several caseworkers have spoken to us about what they call complex guidelines that they have to meticulously follow whilst they're going through these asylum applications. They say they increase the time it takes to complete the process. It's likely the Prime Minister will be looking at what they call bureaucracy if he wants those asylum caseworkers to meet the target of wading through tens of thousands of applications by the end of next year.
We are going to need many more hundred caseworkers. It's going to take time to train them. Frankly, we're going to have to pay them better as well, because they're quite low-paid staff doing this. It's ridiculous. It takes up to 480 days to process the claim of somebody in this country. That's got to be absolutely slashed. So yes, the objective is right. It's a question of where those people come from to make sure it becomes a reality.
More than 40,000 people have crossed the Channel in boats this year. The Prime Minister said new legislation will be brought in next year to make clear if a person enters the UK illegally, they shouldn't be able to stay here.
These measures won't immediately stop the boats altogether, I'm afraid. I think that's a really complicated problem. And it involves negotiations with the EU and France about what we can do with them on cracking the problem. There's some good measures in there about the human smuggling, but we're dealing with the migrants themselves. I think they're still going to have incentives to come here if there's no clear indication that they won't be allowed to stay.
Those close to the Prime Minister say he's worked incredibly hard on this plan, but critics within his party question why it's taken the government so long and whether it will actually stop the boats.